They never said, "I love you," yet somehow, in their silence, their distance, and their quiet return, they proved it more deeply than words ever could. Love stories are often told with grand confessions, long messages, and desperate chases. But this love story is different. This is the story of someone who feels deeply, yet steps back. Someone whose heart whispers while their actions seem to retreat. This is the love of an avoidant soul. You see, when an avoidant person loves you, it doesn't look like fireworks. It looks like hesitation, not because they don't feel, but because they feel too much. Their heart is like a guarded castle, built from old storms and forgotten wars. Every brick was placed to protect themselves from pain they once couldn't escape. So when you arrive, they don't open the gates instantly. They watch you from the tower, silently hoping you're not another storm. And yet, they stay. That is the first sign. Avoidants don't stay where they feel nothing. They disappear. They fade. They vanish like mist at sunrise. But if they keep coming back to you, after distance, after silence, after moments of retreat, it means something inside them is fighting their instincts. And avoidants only fight themselves for something that truly matters. Their love speaks in quiet ways. They may not send paragraphs, but they remember the smallest details about you. They may not cling to you, but they notice when your voice sounds tired. They may not say, "I miss you," yet they linger in conversations a little longer than they planned. Their affection is subtle, almost invisible to the untrained eye, but to the heart that pays attention, it feels louder than any declaration. Sometimes, they pull away. And that moment can feel like rejection. But it isn't. It's fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of needing someone. Fear of loving so deeply that if it breaks, they might not survive it again. Their distance is not a wall against you. It is a shield against their own vulnerability. And still, they return. Because authentic love has a gravity that even fear cannot escape. It pulls them back to you, again and again, even when their mind tells them to run. Even when their habits whisper, "Don't get attached." Even when their past tries to convince them love is dangerous. If an avoidant person chooses you despite all that, if they let you see glimpses of their real self, if they slowly soften around you, that is not ordinary affection. That is rare, courageous love. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. Because for them, loving you is not just romance. It is bravery. In most love stories, closeness is the proof of affection. People expect warm messages, constant presence, and obvious reassurance. But with an avoidant heart, love wears a quieter disguise. It hides behind distance, speaks through pauses, and breathes inside the spaces where others might see absence. To someone unfamiliar with this language, it may seem like indifference. Yet beneath that calm surface lives a depth of feeling so intense that it frightens the very person experiencing it. When an avoidant begins to care, their first instinct is not to run toward love but to step back from it. Not because they don't want it, but because wanting it feels dangerous. Desire means attachment, attachment means vulnerability, and vulnerability is something their soul has long associated with pain. So they create space. They slow their replies. They disappear for a while. They tell themselves they need independence. But what they rarely admit is that the distance is not from you, it is from the storm of emotions rising inside them. And still, even as they step away, something invisible keeps them connected to you. They check their phone hoping your name appears. They replay your words in their thoughts when the world grows quiet. They notice songs that remind them of your voice, or moments that would have been sweeter if you were there. Their body may move away, but their attention lingers, tied to you like a thread they cannot cut. Distance, for them, is not the opposite of love. It is the way they survive it. It is how they keep their balance when feelings grow stronger than their defenses. They don't express affection in overflowing gestures, they express it in restraint, in careful steps, in the way they return after every retreat. Each return is a silent confession. I tried to stay away, but my heart didn't listen. To love an avoidant is to understand that their absence is often filled with unspoken emotion. Their silence can be heavy with thoughts of you. Their space can be crowded with feelings they don't yet know how to share. And hidden within that distance is a truth many never realize: sometimes the strongest love is the one fighting hardest not to be seen in ordinary romances. Love is measured by words. People listen for confessions, reassurances, and constant reminders that they matter. But when an avoidant heart begins to love, language changes. Words become scarce, not because emotions are missing, but because emotions feel too powerful to release. Silence becomes their dialect of affection, and what sounds like quiet to the world is actually a symphony of feelings they struggle to translate. An avoidant rarely says everything they feel. Their thoughts are oceans, deep and moving, yet their lips reveal only ripples. When they sit beside you without speaking much, it isn't emptiness. It is presence. They are there, absorbing your energy, memorizing your expressions, noticing details you don't realize you show. They may not voice admiration, but they see you. They may not confess longing, but they feel it. Their silence is not distance from you, it is closeness they are still learning how to hold. Sometimes you will notice it in the pauses. The way they hesitate before responding. The way their eyes soften for a second longer than expected. The way they start to say something meaningful, then stop and change the subject. These moments are not accidents. They are windows where emotion almost escapes, where vulnerability nearly finds a voice before fear gently pulls it back. In those pauses live confessions they haven't yet found the courage to speak. An avoidant's silence is also where they process love. While others express feelings instantly, they retreat inward to understand them first. They analyze every sensation, every attachment, every flutter in their chest, trying to make sense of something that feels both beautiful and terrifying. Words feel permanent, and permanence feels risky, so they wait. They think. They feel quietly, yet even in silence, they communicate. They show care through small gestures instead of speeches. They listen closely when you talk. They remember what matters to you. They stay on the line a little longer before saying goodbye. These are their unspoken sentences, their hidden paragraphs, their quiet declarations wrapped in ordinary moments. And if you listen not with your ears but with your heart, you begin to realize their silence is not empty at all. It is full of everything they feel but are still learning how to say. Loving an avoidant soul means standing before a heart protected by invisible armor. Not armor forged from pride or coldness, but from memories, disappointments, and moments when trust once slipped through their fingers. Long before you arrived, they learned that feelings can wound, that attachment can vanish, that promises can echo into silence. So they built quiet defenses, not to keep love out, but to keep pain from getting in. Fear became their guardian, watching every emotion that tried to enter too quickly. When they begin to feel something real for you, that guardian awakens. It doesn't shout or create drama. It whispers warnings. It tells them to slow down, to stay careful, to never let anyone become powerful enough to hurt them. And so they hesitate, not because you are unsafe, but because their past taught them that love itself can be. Their fear is not about you as a person. It is about what loving you might mean, the risk of needing you, the risk of missing you, the risk of breaking if you ever leave. This fear often shows itself in subtle ways. They might change the subject when conversations get too emotional. They might joke when things turn serious. They might act distant right after a beautiful moment of closeness. It can feel confusing, like they stepped back just when everything felt right. But what's really happening is that their heart felt something powerful, and that intensity startled them. Strong feelings don't relax them, they alert them. Deep connection doesn't calm them, it exposes them. Inside, they are standing between two forces, desire and protection. One part of them wants to move closer, to trust you, to rest in the warmth they feel when you're near. Another part tightens its grip, reminding them how fragile hearts can be. So they linger in that space between holding on and pulling away, between wanting love and fearing it. Their struggle is silent, often invisible, but it is constant. To witness this fear is not to see weakness. It is to see someone who has felt deeply enough to be cautious, someone whose emotions run so strong that they learn to contain them, someone whose heart does not open easily because when it does, it opens completely. In many love stories, promises are treated like proof. People listen for grand vows, poetic confessions, and dramatic assurances that sound like scenes from a movie. But when an avoidant loves, their devotion rarely arrives wrapped in speeches. It arrives quietly, almost unnoticed, hidden inside gestures so small that only a patient heart learns to recognize them. Their love is not something they announce. It is something they demonstrate, piece by piece, moment by moment. An avoidant may never promise forever, yet they will show up when it matters. They may not say they care, yet they will remember the tiny details you once mentioned casually. The way you like your tea. The story about your childhood. The song you said made you feel calm. They collect these fragments of you without telling you they are doing it, storing them like treasures in a place no one sees. Words can feel risky to them, because words create expectations, and expectations feel heavy. Actions, however, feel safer. Actions let them love you without feeling trapped by declarations. Sometimes their affection appears in the simplest forms. They check if you reached home safely. They send a message after a long silence just to ask how your day was. They fix something you mentioned was broken. They stand a little closer when you seem uneasy. None of these moments look dramatic from the outside. To others, they might seem ordinary, almost insignificant. But for an avoidant, each small action is a quiet step beyond their comfort zone, a gentle rebellion against their instinct to stay emotionally distant. There is sincerity in these gestures because they are not performed for attention. They happen naturally, often before the avoidant even realizes what they're doing. Love guides their behavior long before they admit its presence to themselves. They may struggle to say how they feel, but their behavior slowly reveals it anyway. Their consistency becomes their confession. Their presence becomes their promise. And if you watch closely, you begin to notice a pattern. They may hesitate with words, but they rarely hesitate with care. They might pause before expressing emotion, yet they act without pause when it comes to your well-being. In their world, love is not proven by what is spoken aloud, but by what is quietly done, again and again, in ways that ask for no recognition and seek no applause. With most people, staying is ordinary. It doesn't require courage to remain where you feel comfortable, where emotions flow easily, where closeness feels natural. But with an avoidant heart, staying is never ordinary. It is a decision, a quiet act of bravery repeated again and again. Because for someone who is used to protecting themselves through distance, remaining close to another person can feel like standing unshielded in the rain, exposed to every drop of feeling they once tried to escape. An avoidant knows how to leave. Distance is familiar to them. Detachment is safe terrain. Walking away before emotions deepen has always been their instinctive refuge, the place where their heart can breathe without fear of loss or disappointment. So when they don't leave, when they resist that instinct and choose to remain connected to you, something extraordinary is happening inside them. They are choosing presence over protection, connection over comfort, you over the safety of solitude. You may notice it in subtle moments. They linger instead of disappearing. They reply when it would be easier to stay silent. They return after pulling away. Each return is not casual. Each return is a quiet declaration that despite their fears, despite their habits, despite the voice inside urging them to retreat, there is something about you they cannot ignore. Something that keeps drawing them back like gravity, steady and undeniable. Staying, for them, is not passive. It is active. It means they are facing emotions they don't fully understand. It means they are allowing someone to see parts of them they once kept hidden. It means they are slowly loosening the armor they spent years building, piece by piece, just so they can exist beside you without feeling the urge to run. That process is not loud. It doesn't look dramatic, but it is profound. Many people mistake love for intensity, for constant closeness, for overwhelming expression. Yet with an avoidant, love often looks like quiet consistency. It looks like someone who could walk away but doesn't. Someone who feels fear but stays anyway. Someone who doesn't always know how to explain what they feel, yet keeps choosing you in the only way they know how, by being there, by remaining, by not letting distance win.